Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for watching. In today's video, we're going to be talking about why food addiction can feel so much harder than other addictions. I am not saying that addiction is easy. I'm not saying that being addicted to heroin doesn't come with obviously traumatic consequences and destroy so many lives, because of course it does. This is based on experiences that I have had discussing these things with my clients in sessions. If you're new here, my name is Susie. I'm a binge and emotional eating therapist. I do these videos every week, so if you're interested, please click the like and the subscribe button. It massively helps this channel, and I'd so appreciate your support because it gets it out to the people who need to hear it the most. So if we can grow this channel and this community, that would be amazing. But the first point is that we can't just cut out food. We don't need to be drinking alcohol every day. We don't need to smoke a cigarette. We don't need to gamble. With food addiction and with binge eating disorder, we have to consume the thing that we're addicted to every single day. Also, I can hear some of you thinking, well, if you fast, you don't have to. Before we even get into that, to the whole other topic, we don't recommend fasting for people who have binge eating disorder or who are addicted to food, because it can trigger so many past patterns. So what we look to is consistent, healthy consumption of food. But the problem is our boundaries are quite nuanced. It takes a lot of effort to, when you're in the throes of issues with eating, when you're dealing with it every day, how do you even start to heal that? How do you get over it when you have to be consuming the thing that you're addicted to survive? The second point is that we are faced with the trigger every single day. And even if we do try to cut out a certain amount of food or control it, that feeds into the issue itself. We use food for both survival and emotional comfort for a lot of us, especially when we are in the throes of this addiction. And trying to separate the two, which are very intertwined, is very difficult when you're healing. Every attempt to control food increases our biological hunger and our mental obsession with food. So we really don't have any option when it comes to like cutting down or trying to restrict or trying to control more, because that just feeds into the issue itself. So recovery comes from learning how to eat differently, not whether we can or can't do it, which is a really complex process in and of itself. You can't avoid food. It's everywhere. It's in the supermarket, it's in the restaurants, it's at social events, it's at the weddings you go to. You know, food is such an essential part of our community and our social fabric. But when we struggle with food, and when we do have this addiction, and when we have this sense of obsession and trying to control food, it's constantly in your face. So it's not like you can hide and run away from it. And when people do that, and they're literally shutting themselves in their houses, they're not living their lives. So, you know, it's like constant exposure therapy, just without the proper guidance and support. Yeah, unlike other addictions, you can't just remove yourself from the environment in which food fuels it. You have to coexist with your trigger in the best way you possibly can, in as safe a way as you possibly can. Which leads me quite nicely onto my second point, which is that shame is compounded, especially when society moralizes weight and food choices. When you've got an addiction to something like food, or you have a body that is larger than, say, someone who is in a thinner body, people assume that it's all your fault, and they throw the calories in versus calories out, and just eat less and move more argument, which is so unhelpful and actually doesn't work for a lot of people, because it ignores how intricate our system is. You know, the body is not a machine. It carries out so many intricate processes that we don't have to be conscious of. We don't have to know how to digest food. It just does it for us. But it's still not a machine. It's not a closed system. It's not like a calorimeter, which is, for those of you who don't know, is a machine that is used to measure the calories in food and how much energy essentially it would take to obviously burn that energy off. Assuming that it's all your fault ignores so many things like genetics, our dieting history, our trauma. It ignores all of the, you know, the nervous system, the digestive system, the hormonal system. It completely disregards things like our cortisol levels, our insulin, leptin, ghrelin, thyroid hormones, everything that has such an intricate part, an important part to play in the way in which we absorb food and absorb energy, how we metabolize it and burn it, and how we store it. We know that chronic dieting slows the metabolism down. We know that when we cut calories, the body will, you know, let go of some weight, mostly water weight, and it will let go of some fat, but everyone reaches that plateau point. That's not to say that you can't get past that if you need to for your health, but the body slows it down for a reason, and it makes our resting metabolic rate lower, so we don't burn as many calories. We don't want to move as much as we were because we don't have the energy to do so, and it's just a downward spiral from there for a lot of people. The same culture that shames binging and weight gain and eating a lot of food is also the same culture that glorifies restriction and thinness. So it's a no-win situation. And shame keeps you stuck in secrecy. I'm sure a lot of you watching this may have experienced secret eating. You know, when you are either unable to eat in front of people, or if you do, you then need to purge it out in whatever way that is. Maybe that is through vomiting or through over-exercising. It might mean even more restriction. It could mean that you then start eating in secret completely away from your family, or you decide to move out and get your own place just so that you can eat in secret, and then you really don't have the support network around you. You know, there's so many intricacies to this issue, and it can just fuel the very behaviours that you're trying to heal. Moving on to my next point, in that for a lot of people, their support networks, if they have any in the first place, because some people don't, if they do, they don't tend to really understand unless they're going through the same thing. Your friends and your family might mean well, but we say things offhand because this is what we've been conditioned with as well, because we're bombarded with this kind of information. But they'll say things like, just eat less and move more, or just don't have it in the house, or just don't eat the birthday cake, without realizing how invalidating that is. You know, even some therapists and some therapy modalities don't focus on the emotional healing and the reason as to why you're binging or you've got emotional eating issues in the first place. A lot of them are weight centric, so they don't focus on the emotional roots of everything, which just deepens your guilt and your shame, and again fuels the binge restrict cycle. As a result, this lack of understanding just means that you feel even more isolated, like you're the only one that can't handle food, and you're different and no one else gets it. And you know, all your friends and your family around you might have a really easy relationship with food and always have, but you haven't, and you've always felt different, and you've always maybe got more pleasure out of food than they have, or you've always felt a need to restrict more, or you've always found that controlling your food was the way in which that you tried to gain that sense of control back. And lastly, healing with this issue doesn't come from complete avoidance. So it's about training the brain to find safety, to rewire the brain, to change the pathways and the reward pathways that you are so used to with non-food ways. Ultimately, you have to listen to your body's cues. You need to listen to your hunger and fullness cues. You need to learn how to rebuild that trust and remove the morality from eating and from food that you have accumulated over time. True freedom with this issue is not about willpower. You don't have a lack of willpower. You don't have a willpower problem. It's about rewiring the subconscious patterns around comfort and safety and what you're using food to feel. So if, for example, food is soothing to you, or it's calming, or it gives you a release, we need to look into, why do you feel the need to be calm? Like, what is it that you're lacking? Why are you feeling stressed and anxious and not in a good place? You know, what is happening in your life that has driven you to the point where you're not feeling good about yourself, and you feel like you need something to try and make yourself feel better as quickly as you possibly can in the most efficient way you know how, which for a lot of us is through food. So that's everything I have for today's video. Thank you so much for being here and for just spending your time with me and on this very important topic. If this interests you, please leave me a comment, or any questions that you may have. Share this with someone that may need to hear it. If you could add it to a playlist, or copy the link, or like or subscribe, any kind of action that you can take for this video would massively help, and I just appreciate it, because we can then help more people. I'm going to be posting videos every Monday and Wednesday, and if I can, sometimes on Fridays as well. I appreciate everyone who's actually stuck through my hiatus from content, because I know I took a while to come back. I was just trying to balance things, and I took a break for another project, but I am back and I can't wait to bring you more content. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.